Good morning, everyone. Happy Sabbath. As they say in Ethiopia, Tenastalin and Demanalech. Denanich. Xabir Yameska. That's Amharic for welcome, praise the Lord. So we'd like to start with singing two songs, favorite songs of the sea. The first one, Master, the Tempest is Raging. Master, the tempest is raging, the billows are tossing high. The sky is o'ershadowed with blackness, no shelter or help is nigh. Carest thou not that we perish? How canst thou lie asleep, when each moment so madly is threatening a grave in the angry deep? The winds and the waves shall obey my will. Peace, be still. Whether the wrath of the storm-tossed sea, or demons, or men, or whatever it be, no water can swallow the ship where lies the Master of ocean and earth and skies. They all shall sweetly obey my will. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. They all shall sweetly obey my will. Peace, peace, be still. Master, with anguish of spirit, I bow in my grief today. The depths of my sad heart are troubled. Awaken and save, I pray. Torrents of sin and of anguish sweep o'er my sinking soul. And I perish, dear Master. Oh, hasten and take control. Winds and the waves shall obey my will. Peace, be still. Whether the wrath of the storm-tossed sea, or demons, or men, or whatever it be, no water can swallow the ship where lies the Master of ocean and earth and skies. They all shall sweetly obey my will. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. They all shall sweetly obey my will. Peace, peace, be still. Master, the terror is over. The elements sweetly rest. The earth's in calm lake is mirrored, and heaven's within my breast. Linger, O blessed Redeemer, leave me alone no more, and with joy I shall make the blessed harbor, and rest on the blissful shore. The winds and the waves shall obey my will. Peace, be still. Whether the wrath of the storm-tossed sea, or demons, or men, or whatever it be, no water can swallow the ship where lies the Master of ocean and earth and skies. They all shall sweetly obey my will. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. They all shall sweetly obey my will. Peace, peace, be still. And the last song, It Is Well With My Soul, number 530 in your hymn book. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my sin. Oh, the joy of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. It is well, it is well, it is well, it is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, a trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. Thank you.
Need some children up here. Where are you? Oh boy, that's good. We got some good children up here. Let's take this out of the way and let somebody sit here. Okay, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, good lot of children. I am wearing an outfit from Ethiopia. Anybody know where Ethiopia is? Have you ever heard of Ethiopia? You know, I hadn't even heard of it myself about 40 years ago when then we were called to go there. We wanted to know, where are we going to go? Well, let me show you something. Some of you may know this is the world, right? And we live right up here in Washington. Okay, this is the United States. This is North America. If you go this way, and this way, and this way, cross the Atlantic Ocean, you get to a big continent called Africa, okay? In Africa, it's got lots of different nations in it. Well, if you go right over here to this part of Africa, that's where Ethiopia is, okay? And that's what I am wearing today, things from Ethiopia. We went over there as missionaries. Okay. Now, what I would like to do with you today is tell you a little bit about what the people do, what the children do over there. Okay, we're going to pretend like we're in a hut. You see, this is a typical Ethiopian hut. Now, this is the way they live out in the villages. In the towns, they live in houses with tin roofs on them. But in the villages, they live in that kind of it's a bunch of sticks with mud put all around them, and then they have a thatch on top. The rain can roll right off of it, and often they'll have a hole in the middle, because in the middle of your hut, you'll have your place to cook, your fire, okay? So we're going to pretend this is the fire, okay? That's the fire. This is my pan to cook on. Now, what am I going to cook on this? How many of you like pancakes? Okay, we're going to cook a pancake. Only it's called Injera. Injera, and it's not made of the same kind of stuff our pancakes are. It's made out of a kind of a grain called teff, and they make a pancake batter with it. And then they put it all on here, okay? Get it all coated. It's a big pancake, isn't it? Have you ever eaten a pancake that big? Okay, well, this is a big pancake. And then they put a lid on it, and they let it cook for a little bit. Not too long, because it's very thin. Take it off, and then you peel it off. You don't turn it over, you peel it off. You put it in a pile, and you make your next pancake, okay? When you got a pile of pancakes, you get all around the pancake, and then the stew that has been made before, you take a piece of the pancake, you dip it in the stew, which is called wat, and you eat it. Everybody does it that way. No forks, no spoons. That's the way you eat your pancake. Okay, now, we need somebody who's going to be the mom. Okay, mom, over here. I'm going to dress mom up. She's going to wear, let's see, well, we'll have her wear this one. Nope, we'll have her wear this one. This is called a Nutella. It's like what I'm wearing. And I'll go ahead and give you the full Nutella. How's that? All right. So we just wrap it around like this. And then we wrap this around like this. Now you're saying, oh, wait a minute, I can't, whoa. Okay, then we just bring it up like this. And we bring this side up like this. And now you have your hands, okay? There you are. There's Mama. Well, now, let's look and see what the ladies look. What did I do with my clicker? I put it away somewhere. Here it is. Now, what do you put? Thank you. Matter of fact, it might be better if you do it. Here's the ladies. You want to take a look? They're wearing their Nutellas just like you are. Okay? So, Mama, what do you do? Okay, this is what Mama does. Next one. Okay? You go out there and you get water. Water! You don't have any water in your house, so you have to go down to the river. You fill up your big jar. You put it on your back. You don't put it on your head in Ethiopia. You put it on your back, and you carry it back to the house. Oh, poor Mama. Well, let's see what we have Daddy now. Where's Daddy? Who wants to be Daddy? Okay, here's Daddy. Daddy, you got a shama. Now, you wouldn't do this. This is dress up, let me tell you. This is dress up. So you don't usually do this on an everyday basis. But you do the same thing. Okay, got your hands out there? Okay, now, Daddy's pretty important. This is a fly swatter. Only important daddies can carry a fly swatter. All right? Keep those flies away. Here you are. Hang on. Okay, something else you need. Here's your spear. You are ready. Turn around, let everybody see you. Okay. Here he is. He's ready to go. Okay. But what does Daddy do most of the time? Next slide. You wouldn't use this for this, but that's what you do. Now you want to turn around and see what Daddy does? That's what you're doing all the time. You're plowing the fields. Mom's carrying the water. She's fixing the food. You're plowing the field. Okay, we need son. Who's going to be a son? You want to be the son? You could be the son if you want to. Okay, she's going to be the son. You can. It doesn't matter. Okay. Son, we're going to dress you up too, even though you wouldn't be doing this on a daily basis, okay? All right. And you put your hands up there. There you go. They got one. And got the other one there, okay? Now the son also has a spear. Where are you? There you go. Now what do you do? Okay, let's see what the son does. Here you are. You're out there, and those are spears, even though they look thin. Those are the cows out there. You're in charge of the cows. You'll make sure the cows don't go away. You make sure nothing gets the cows. You're very careful with the cows, because that's the money of the family, okay? All right, we need a daughter. Okay. Okay, daughter, ooh, how can I get this on you? We're all doing the same kind of a dress. Yeah, all right. Okay, up with your hand. Got to hold that up, otherwise it's going to fall down. And there, okay. All right, daughter, what do? You take care of the little ones. The little ones, because mom has got too much to do. She's hauling water, she's hauling sticks, she's cooking the food. You're watching the little ones, okay? You're also watching the chickens outside, okay? There. All right, here we got our family now. We're all in that same hut like you saw at the beginning. All right? And you've got one other very important thing. The little tiny ones, keep them out of the fire. If they get in the fire, what happens? They get burned. And then they have to go down to the clinic, and it gets infected. Oh, it's really bad. I've seen some bad burns over there. So here's our family, and you're a nice-looking bunch. Don't you think so? Okay, I think I'll take those things, and I want you to sit down because I have some other things I want to tell you, because you're going to go to school. What do the Ethiopian children learn in school? What do you learn in school? Huh? Do you learn to read? Yes. Do you learn to write? Yes. All right, I think they do too. But they don't read the same things you read. How can you take these? Okay, and you can wear this the rest of the day, actually. Okay. Oh, how can I get this off of you? There you go. Okay, children. When you go to school, the first thing you learn are your A, B, C's, right? Okay. We're going to learn our ha, hoo, he's. Okay? We don't learn our ABCs. We learn our ha, hoo. This is ha, hoo, he, ha, he, ho. Okay? You got that? Ha, hoo, he, he, ho. Okay? Now the next one we learn is la. La, lu, li, la, le, lo. You got that? La, lu, li, la, le, lo. Got that? Okay. Next one we're going to learn is ma. Ma, mu, me, ma, me, mo. Hey, you're learning fast. You'll be good at Ethiopian. There are 26 characters in ABC in your alphabet. There are 168 in Ethiopian alphabet, Amharic. You have a lot to learn. And let me tell you, it's not that easy to draw it either. I only did the first 3 characters. There's several others. There's also an explosive.
Can you do it a little slower?
Can I do what?
Can you do this a little slower?
I can't do much of anything anymore. This is 40 years ago since I've been in Ethiopia. But yes. Okay. I want to teach you a song. Does anybody know the song, Thank You, Jesus? Okay, but we're going to do it in Amharic. Tamaskani Jesus, Tamaskani Jesus. Okay, now you need to know Tamaskani. Can you say that? Tamaskani. Tamaskani Jesus, okay? And then in my heart is Bale Bay. Okay, I want to hear you sing. Here we go. Tamaskani Jesus, Tamaskani Jesus, Tamaskani Jesus, Bale Bay. Tamaskani Jesus, Tamaskani Jesus, Temaskani Jesus Balebe. Now you know a song in Amharic. Great. You've been good. Okay. I'm going to give you a present from Ethiopia. Okay? If I can find it. Where is it? Where'd it go? Here it is, behind the alphabet. Okay, this is of no use today because they have changed their money. But this is an old coin from Ethiopia. Ethiopia goes, their coins are called birr. Their dollars are called birr, and the coins are called centimes. So this is a centime coin, so like our penny, all right? One side has Haile Selassie on it. Long ago gone. They don't have these kind of coins anymore. The back of it has the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So you can have a coin for your coin collection. All right? There you go. Okay, you may go back to your seats. I guess I can use this microphone. I would like to make an announcement about Jack Sequeira. Some of you people know who he is. He has been doing, we have been doing studies from his list of Bible studies on his website, jacksequeira.com. He is in the hospital right now in Portland. He's had a stroke. He's going to have his 80th birthday, I think. 89th birthday. 89th birthday. Yeah, I don't know whether he'll make it to it because his wife was quite concerned that he would not be living much longer. But anyway, I wanted to let you know that we have appreciated him so much, and we have told him and his wife how much we appreciate it. He's very concerned. Ever since he was not able to preach anymore, his whole mission in life has been to tell the good news about the gospel. And he tells it very well. And that's been his mission all through life. When he couldn't do that anymore, he was very unhappy, she said. So he will be at a better place so that he will be able to know in the kingdom. I am sure he's going to have lots of us come up and say, you know, I learned about righteousness by faith through you, Jack, and I am here today because of you. He's been a very big influence on us. So I know that the family would appreciate your prayers. That's Jack Sequeira. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. I guess I'll just stand here. There's no podium, but I want to welcome everybody today, visitors. It looks like we have a whole lot more people here today, and I'm very thankful for that, for each person that's willing to come back and enjoy this service in the church. And I love this church, and I am glad that I can be here today. Okay, I just want to say a few things here. Today's offering is Washington Youth and young adults. And right now, I think they're having, it might be at Sunset Lake, I'm not sure. No, it's somewhere else. I hear about it on the prayer chain, but anyway, it's like a youth congress that we used to have, and they are for the whole weekend someplace, and I would like to talk about that in my prayer. But first, I have a text for you. It's Colossians 3:16 and 17. Let the word of the Messiah in its richness live in you as you teach and counsel each other in all wisdom, and as you sing songs and hymns and spiritual songs with gratitude to God in your hearts. That is in everything you say and do, in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks through him to God the Father. Okay, and I'd like to say a prayer. Dear Lord, thank you so much for today. Thank you for each person here. And thank you for those that are watching online. And bless and guide each home and family and each person. And thank you for your love that you give to them. And thank you for the peace and comfort that you give those who have lost loved ones recently. And thank you for the strength and the power and the direction that you give us each day. And thank you for this program that they are doing today. And we ask that it will go smoothly and be a blessing to each one of you. And also, Lord, we ask that you'll be with the young people, be with our children, be with our grandchildren, and be with all those that take care of children that are not even their own, but they love them as if they were their own. And thank you, Lord, for that blessing. Thank you for all the wellness that we've had and healing, and Sonia and her healing, and different people, Lord, that they might regain their strength and bless and guide. And thank you today for your rich blessings and chance to share with you and your love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Lost the clicker.
We're looking for the clicker.
It's not here. Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know what happened to it. Just left. Okay.
We'll do our best to finish way early. I've already eliminated a big part of the sermon today because supper is coming along after lunch, and we need to split the program up maybe into other parts. So come on up, Wizro Constance.
Yep. There you go. Okay.
Judy. She dropped something.
Huh? Oh. Where are your papers? Can you read it?
As you can read. Hello? Okay. As you can read, this is a continuation of a preliminary mission story that I gave last May, a year ago almost. This is part 2 of a multi-presentation by Paulos and Judy Stirling. That's the way our names were pronounced. and imitate Constance Reeves. Imitate is the star of a celebration. Our Port Orchard researcher and instructor of Jewish history and customs. So just a introduction, we will go back 24 years for some of these pictures, and then 40 years for some others. And then we're going to all have to crowd into our Starship Enterprise and go back almost 3,000 years with our coordinates set to Jerusalem. And the time will be during the time of Moses and others. So you'll be able to kind of visualize what the life is like as imitate Constance brings us up to date on the beautiful facts of the Ark. The disappearance of the biblical Ark of the Covenant over 2,500 years ago is a source of continuous discussion and research. Does anybody remember the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark? It's the same theme. The disappearance of the biblical Ark, although we're not going to have anybody's face disappear or anything like that. Emite Constance Reeves will provide some of the fascinating insights about the Ark of the Covenant, which may be in Ethiopia today. Additional support for this presentation came from Jerry Oakletree. We're very happy that she provided the artist's concept of the Ark of the Covenant, a beautiful picture, and we'll see it in a few minutes, and provided a song for the closing by Amy Perry and Todd Smith called The Blood. We also are very thankful for Dorothy Epperly, who has presented her mother's artwork of the theme of the Ark of the Covenant. And Constance has some comments on the picture. It's very accurate, biblically speaking. And there's some things about it that I learned yesterday from the comments that during our practice. The sermon text, Psalm 68, 31 to 34. Nobles shall come from Egypt, Cush shall hasten to stretch out her hands to God. O kingdoms of the earth, sing to God, sing praises to the Lord. Selah. To him who rides in the heavens, the ancient heavens, behold, he sends out his voice, his mighty voice. Ascribe power to God, whose majesty is over Israel, and whose power is in the skies. Now, look at the first line of that psalm. Nobles shall come from Egypt, Cush shall hasten to stretch out her hands to God. And now I'm going to ask Judy, what does Cush mean?
Well, Cush is something, I have my own. Cush is a part of Africa, at least part of it was in Ethiopia. It was quite a large nation at one time. So when some of the Bibles translate Cush as Ethiopia, but not all of Cush was in Ethiopia, but part of it was, yes.
Why send missionaries who, from America or England, who don't speak anything besides English? Why send them to some other part of the world? Well, let's consider Ethiopia. There are 86 different languages spoken in Ethiopia and as many as 200 dialects. Ethiopia is Africa's second largest country by population. 115 million people are in Ethiopia today, around that around a number, and shares land borders with 7 other countries. The leader in population is Nigeria, with 206 million citizens. Just for comparison, America has, I think, a little over 300 million. But the land space of Ethiopia is much smaller than the land space of America. Amharic was for many years the official language of the government. Now there are 5 official languages, each one coming from one of the larger provinces in the country. English was the only language spoken in our school classrooms because every student needs to speak and read English for higher education or a job outside the country after graduation. So I worried about that. Why am I going someplace where I don't know their language? Don't know their culture. Why am I going there? Well, they're trying to learn English for a very important reason.
Which was one of the reasons why we never learned Amharic very well, because they wanted to practice their English on us.
So most of you know me as a retired mechanical engineer from the shipyard. I was there for 30 years. But before that, I was something else. I was a teacher for the Adventist system. Many years ago, I was completing my 7th year at teaching at Redwood Junior Academy in California, Santa Rosa, when I got an invitation from the Lord by way of the SDA General Conference. How does the Lord invite you to do things? Often it's your friends, or maybe out of the blue.
Yeah.
And the message was, go to the land of Cush, where everybody speaks Geese. Cush is spelled with a K here, with a C in other places, but it's the same place. The Seventh-day Adventist educational system is a Christian-based school system. It has associations with a total of 8,515 educational institutions operating in over 100 countries around the world, with over 1.95 million students worldwide. The denominationally based school system began in the 1870s. So we have our Kitsap Adventist School, we have Auburn Adventist Academy, we have Walla Walla College, Walla Walla University, thank you. All of these are members of 8,515 other schools. So we went to the land of Cush, where everybody speaks Geese. Geese is I'll tell about it later. We had never been to the land of Cush, where everybody speaks Geese, but we lived at Ethiopian Adventist College for 2,190 days and nights and saw many strange and wonderful sights and learned many new things. The college became simply a high school shortly after we arrived, and that's where we taught.
This is a picture, first thing we saw when we arrived in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, from our hotel room. We hadn't even been out to our mission station yet. This was Ethiopia. Exciting and scary.
We looked like a school teacher family from California when we arrived, but began to adapt immediately. We bought a motorcycle. It was very useful in the land of Cush, where everybody speaks Geese. No telephone, no TV, no internet, no credit cards, no library, no Safeway or Subway. That was 40 years ago.
And here we are on our motorcycle. Joel is between me and Paul there, sandwiched, and Bryn is at the beginning, guiding our motorcycle.
This is a sign showing the way to the college. It's set off from the road. The upper line, which is a little hard to see, is in Amharic. The lower line is in regular English characters. We made no bones about it. We taught in English, and we taught English also. Here's the EAC, stands for Ethiopian Adventist College, Administration and Classroom Building. The church, center of the campus, a beautiful church, and beautiful flowers and vegetation around it.
It looks a little dry there. When we got to Ethiopia the first time that we arrived, they told us it wasn't going to rain again for many months. And our water barrel had no water in it. So we were a little frightened. This is the church, and when you go to church there, you don't go until you hear the bell ring. You just don't go. If the bell doesn't ring, you don't go to church. So once in a while, we had to go down and ring the bell for everybody to come to church. The big bell, and you just pull on the rope, and everybody says, "Oh, it's time for church," and they come to church. Here we go.
There's a lot of people come to the chapel for weekly meetings and so on, the students.
That's inside the church.
Sorry.
Oops.
Sorry,
Can
here,
you go
I'll
back?
back up. This is the dining hall, a little hard to see, but adequate. The students, I really never heard them complain about the food. Of course, I couldn't understand Amharic either, so. Ready for a wedding reception, because the other things went on in the dining hall. One of the residence halls. Anybody remember the Nissan or Datsun B1100? Tiny little box on wheels. That was our car. We went almost 150 miles every month to the capital city, Addis Ababa, with another family that had 5 people, 2 adults, 3 kids, and then Judy and I and 2 children. So 9 people riding in that little tin box on wheels.
And then we had to get all our shopping done there. And where were we going to put it? We put it on top in apple boxes.
Oh, sorry. School truck. It had a lot of capacity. It's about the size of our Ford F-150s or Chevy, but it's got the engine inside the cab. This is the EAC Auto Shop and Motorcycle Repair and Training Facility. Here's the wood and metal furniture industry, and that was one of my assignments, was to be the manager of the furniture business. Another one of my jobs, keep the water flowing in the campus. And I don't know if you can see that, I'm trying to keep the water flowing. Priming the pump. Amazing, this is what I did for the Navy, but it was much more sophisticated.
Yes, where did water come from?
The water came from the river, which ran by the school.
And it was the color of what you see there in the bucket.
Yeah. So, making a new filter system to try to clean up some of the water. And the fellow with the straw hat in the back is Pastor Sequeira, who was an architect as well as a pastor. Our new combine for us, for wheat. And that came from America. They boxed it up and shipped it over for us. Reaping teff on Christmas Day. Teff is very small grain, too small for the combine. Harvesting teff, Christmas Day. Sorghum plants, great for cattle feed. A familiar sight. If you look real closely on the brow of the hill, there's a person with a oxen and plowing. Here we are, sitting on our front porch. Notice there's a number 12 there. That was the 12th house on the campus. After 3 years in the land of Cush, where everybody speaks Geese. Now, fast forward, going home 6 years after landing in the land of Cush, where everybody speaks Geese.
They have grown a lot, those boys.
Yeah, look how fast the boys have grown. May of 1982. Now fast forward 24 more years, visiting...
2006.
Go ahead.
2006.
2006, visiting our old home and school, now as tourists, 24 years after leaving the land of Cush, only now nobody spoke Geese, and the land was called Ethiopia. Me, a mechanical engineer, Judy, a piano teacher, Bryn, a physician, Joel, a civil engineer. This is a map of Africa as seen from space. Ethiopia is in the green belt near the Horn of Africa on the right-hand side of the continent. So looking at your right-hand side, there's this little hook in the continent. That's near Ethiopia. And the green represents verdant soil and water. Up on the top of the continent and the very lower left of the continent, no rain or very little rain. This is the part of Ethiopia that interested us, and you see a kind of a thread there. The very center of the country is in the capital, Addis Ababa, and that little thread going to a push pin, that's where our school was.
Just south of it.
And now, 24 years later, as tourists, we wanted to see the Ethiopia we could not visit during our missionary days.
Why not?
We were told, don't go anywhere else than the capital and stay in your place.
Because it was under communist rule at the time.
Communist rule,
You
lot
don't
of
go
unrest.
anywhere.
And now we're going to go back thousands of years, well, let's say at least several hundred years. Christianity was traditionally brought to the kingdom of Aksum in the 4th century by Frumentius, a Phoenician Christian missionary and the first bishop of Aksum. Look carefully, you see in the center of that map, Addis Ababa. But if you go straight up, which is north, you see the word Aksum. It's a different spelling, but it's the same location. And that brings us to ancient history. Here are some of the cities that are very important in northern Ethiopia. I just want to talk about Aksum and Lalibela. And we'll move on. Oh, sorry. Did I?
No, that was the right one.
Aksum is a city in northern Ethiopia. It's known for its tall, carved obelisks, relics of the ancient kingdom of Aksum. Most are in the northern Stele Park, including a huge fallen pillar now in pieces. Centuries old, St. Mary of Zion is a Christian church and pilgrimage site believed to have housed the biblical Ark of the Covenant. The neighboring chapel of the tablet is said to contain the Ark today. And we'll try to see if we can see this public broadcasting talking about the Aksum kingdom in history.
The Red Sea meets the Arabian Sea. Here, a bridge of salt water connects the African continent with the Middle East. The ancient Egyptians sailed down this inlet to trade with their southern neighbors in the kingdoms of Punt and Cush. Greeks and Romans, Persians and Byzantines would follow, eager to acquire the luxury goods that had fired the imagination of Egyptian pharaohs. Africans and Europeans have been trading on the east coast of Africa for at least 2,000 years. This book, written in Greek in the 1st century AD and called The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, describes a key African port on the Red Sea, and it's called Agilis. The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea is one of the most remarkable texts surviving from the Roman Empire. A TripAdvisor guide written by an enterprising Greek merchant. It describes the ports and trading partners he encountered along the Red Sea. Agilis was the maritime gateway to an African kingdom that would become one of the most powerful in the ancient world, Aksum. The great Persian religious leader Mani described Aksum as one of the 4 great empires appear with Rome, Persia, and China. At its height, it dominated the whole of the Horn of Africa and stretched across the Red Sea deep into southern Arabia. Imports flowed into Agilis: copper and bronze goods, silver, gold, olive oil, and wine, with ivory, rhinoceros horn, and even turtle shell going the other way. This control over Agilis makes Aksum rich, providing a gateway between the interior of Africa and ports on the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. The Periplus includes a colorful account of one Aksumite king, Zakala, who reigned in the middle of the 1st century AD. His Greek trading partner describes him somewhat enviously as miserly in his ways, but otherwise upright. Aksum grew wealthy through stiff tariffs on trade through its port at Agilis, while inland, fertile soil nourished by 2 rainy seasons yielded bumper crops annually. In the center of the city of Aksum, once the capital of this stunning empire, stand some of the most remarkable monuments of the ancient world. These large vertical phallic symbols were erected in honor of the glory of the king. Under solid blocks of syenite, the king's body was laid to rest. This park is a memorial ground of a civilization. Over 100 stelae erected between the 3rd and 4th centuries AD as grave markers for Aksum's elite. They're taller than any other monoliths crafted in the ancient world. I asked Dr. Ababal Gela to explain to me how architecture on this scale could have been created back then. Ababal, how in the world did they move this huge slab here from another place?
They brought these stones from distance of 5 kilometers to the west.
As one big unit.
As one big unit.
This fragmented column, estimated to weigh 700 tons, is one of the largest single pieces of stone ever carved by sculptors. Scholars believe that it buckled as it was being erected.
The carving process, they definitely used chiseling. So they must have used iron chisels.
So the artwork took place right where it would be erected.
So the carving might have taken probably 10 years, 9 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
How long did it take to move it from the quarry?
Probably they can drag it a distance of 10 yards or 15 yards a day. That might have also taken them about 3 years.
Do we know for whom this stela was created?
We don't know certainly, but if we see fragmentary historical sources, and then some evidences from archaeological excavations that are made at different times in this area, this stele seems to be made for Al-Amida. Al-Amida the first.
And when did he live?
The second half of the 3rd century.
King Al-Amida, also known as Usanus, ruled during the golden age of Aksum. Gold coins embossed with his face and name and inscribed in Greek were recently unearthed in India, 2,000 miles away. We think that Usanus' son, Izana, who would become one of the most famous kings of Aksum, was memorialized by the other great stelae on this site. A network of chambers lie buried beneath these towers.
That's amazing. Look at those shafts of light.
Yeah.
Now, what was in the chambers on the right as opposed to the chambers?
These are tombs of kings. So on this side, they deposit the body of the king, and then on this side, they deposit the valuables of the kings.
Not like in Egyptian pyramids when they would bury the king with his possessions. Here they put the possessions here and the body there.
Yeah, the body and the possessions in different directions.
90% of ancient Aksum remains unexcavated beneath the city's modern buildings, but sculptural reliefs on the stelae are signs of its grandeur.
As you look up the stelae, you see story after story of windows. There's even door frames with handles, which you could open if you had the right kind of power.
This was a city of 20,000 people. At its heart stood a monumental palace, adorned with bronze statues, and its grand processional ways were lined with granite victory thrones. Aksum's power was founded on its wealth, and its wealth on the rich resources of its unique position on the Horn of Africa. But one of its many extraordinary resources was paramount: frankincense.
Frankincense was an international commodity and brought a lot of religious prestige because incense has magical powers.
An aromatic gum resin produced from the bark of a tree that grows in the highlands of Ethiopia, Somalia, and southern Arabia. Frankincense was as valuable at the height of the Roman Empire, pound for pound, as gold.
It grows very high up on a very harsh environment. It's very hard to access it. People almost go on a pilgrimage, if you like, to get this as a very sought after commodity. This led to long distance trade.
By the 5th century AD, through expansive trade and war, Aksum had established itself as not just one of the great African empires, but one of the great empires of the entire ancient world.
Okay.
Okay, that's the kingdom, Aksum, that has this Ark of the Covenant down in a cave below this little building.
So how did it get there?
How did this get there?
Okay.
Do you want to, tell us.
I think you all know the story of the Queen of Sheba and Solomon. She came to see if his wisdom was as much as she had heard him about and his riches. Now, the Ethiopian people that think that the Queen of Sheba was from Ethiopia. She went and she spent quite a little time, if you read in the Bible, quite a bit of time with Solomon and learning all about his wealth and his attendance. And he gave her a lot of presents, she gave him a lot of presents, and when she went home, apparently he gave her something else because she had a little baby boy, which she named Menker. And they claim that Solomon was the father of this little boy. And when this little boy grew up, Menker, he went back to Jerusalem to visit his father. Now, that gets a little murky here. How in the world he came to be in possession of the Ark of the Covenant? I don't know. Some people say he stole it. Some people say Solomon gave it to him. Anyway, he brought it back to Aksum because it was a great, powerful city. They put it in the cave, and it's there to this day.
So there you have it. And that's why we brought up the details of that city, which is not a very big city today. But anyway, at this point, let's see if I can make this clicker work. This is an artist's conception of the Ark of the Covenant. And we'll move on here. Why is the Ark of the Covenant here in Aksum? I think Judy has mentioned that it was here, at least the story is that during the time of Solomon. Constance will give us some fascinating background on the wonder of the Ark of the Covenant and why it connects with this place in Ethiopia.
Well, hello, church, and Shabbat Shalom. Dorothy was good enough to lend this painting that her mom did, and it was the only picture I've ever seen that shows the power of God on top of the mercy seat. All the rest of them are just pictures of the ark. We don't really see the ark here, but this is the golden crown that runs all the way around the top. And first of all, God says to Moses, you need to build me a box. And the box is going to be 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. And I want it to be lined in and out with gold and have a gold crown around the top. And then the top, very top that sits down on it is 4 foot by 2 foot by a half an inch of pure gold. I can't even realize the weight of it. And it sits underneath this fire. And then on this side and on the other side, God said to take a clump of gold and beat it so that it's all made out of one piece, 2 cherubim. And they are to face one another, their eyes are to be cast down, and then their wings are lifted up high and brought over the mercy seat. And this is where God said that he would dwell. But if this was live right now, we would be in serious danger, because God says he is an all-consuming fire. And this is a representation of that, which I think is fantastic. So thank you, Dorothy, for borrowing. Anyway, the enemies of Israel never saw this as a piece that fits into our Holy of Holies, where this ark was kept. They saw it as a war machine. Even Hitler tried desperately to find this ark, and he never did. He figured he could rule the world if he was in charge of the ark, which is probably pretty much true. And then with the ark sitting in the Holy of Holies, once a year, the high priest, only the high priest, he gets all of his garb on and his high priest robes, and that have jingle bells on it. And what he does is go in and apply the blood to the mercy seat. Now, God protected him by using this particular incense that produced a thick cloud, and it just kind of wrapped around the priest. So he enters in. He sees the glow through the smoke, but I think he would have gone blind if he would have seen the actual power. And then he knows where the mercy seat is. He sprinkles the blood on the mercy seat. And as long as these jingle bells are sounding, if they go silent, then this is a serious problem, because evidently the high priest did not do something right, and God just won't accept a mistake like that. And fire will come out of the ark and just kill him. And then the priests, they can't go in to get him, so they got a rope on his waist or on his leg, and they just pull him out. And it sounds as if this was a practice that happened often. And so God created this veil. Now, I always thought the veil was to be woven, you know, just like a pretty weave with little embroidery on it and stuff. But I was studying on it, and it's not braided, it's twisted. They twisted the fibers, and then they push it back and then back out, and then they twist that fiber, and that's how they made it. Now, God required blue, purple, and scarlet. So these might just be curtains where they're just next to each other, because there's some reports that the veil was from 2 inches to maybe 6 inches thick. And that reminds me of when you get an x-ray, the x-ray technician has an apron that is thick with lead and protects he or her. Anyway, so God took precautions, but Aaron's 2 oldest sons, Nadab and Abihu, they thought it would be humorous to go into the presence of God, not with the incense that is prescribed, but God calls it a strange fire. And they didn't last just 2 seconds. And God saw no humor in it. And so then there's an example where the Levite, you figure that Moses and Aaron are from the Levite tribe, and that any Levite that's a male is a priest. And then some seek a higher office called the high priest. The thing is that nobody was to touch this ark or even look at it when it was in service. Well, you can see, I imagine that the tabernacle and the temple just glowed from top to bottom around this great big veil. Now think about the veil. When Jesus died, the veil ripped from top to bottom. Can you imagine ripping fibers that have been twisted and woven in? It was totally a God thing, and giving access to us through Jesus. There was a special group of people. It was Moses' son's firstborn son and all of his sons that could touch it, and they wouldn't die. And they were the caretakers for the ark. You know, it had to be scrubbed down because of the blood on it, and it would just, you know, they'd polish it and make sure all the things are correct. On the corners of the ark, there were installed two gold rings, one there and one there and one there and one there. And then these poles that were covered in gold were put through and fastened so that you couldn't remove them. And God said that's the only way the ark is going to travel, is if 4 priests lift it up and carry it on their shoulder. You couldn't put this in a cart. It would have a fit. And anyway, so that special group of men, they when it was time to travel from location to location, like they did for 40 years in the desert, well, they had to prepare this. So Moses' oldest son and his sons would go into the Holy of Holies and wrap the veil around, like a package. And then they would put hides on it, and they were from sea cows. Now, I don't know what sea cows are doing in the desert, but, they put sea cow hides on them. And then they took a great big blanket, and it was blue, and then draped it all over that. And in that way, they could carry it to the new location. Every year on Yom Kippur, the high priest would go in with the blood and cover up sin for 1 year. Well, when Jesus was resurrected and Mary saw him at the garden, she thought that he was the gardener, and she said, "Do you know where they took him?" Because obviously somebody has taken him and he's not here. And so Jesus is carrying that blood that's so precious to us, because his blood didn't cover up the sin, it took it away completely. And, praise the Lord for that. And so he was en route to this altar. And Mary saw him, and she reached out to him. She called out to him. She wanted to hold him. And when he was resurrected a high priest, and he's our high priest. And so Jesus says, "No, Mary, I've not yet ascended," which means that he has not gone up the steps of ascent to the altar to apply that blood. So she had to wait a little bit until he did that. And it didn't take very long. I really don't know where heaven is, but he just seemed to step into it and did his priestly duties. Nobody, if anybody, even looked at the ark for too long. It was too late. And there's exceptions to every rule. And little Samuel, picture Samuel now being a little toddler. He's got his little banky, and he's got his binky, and he's walking through the tabernacle. And he decides to take a nap. Well, he goes into the Holy of Holies and makes his little bed and cuddles up to the ark. And Eli found him sleeping there. And that was so cute to think that, it reminds me of the lion and the lamb laying together, because this thing could have devoured little Samuel's body, but it didn't. It just tolerated him and let him sleep. But nowadays, the question of the ark is, where is it? I mean, this has been a mystery for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. It came into existence in Moses' day and disappeared about about 60 generations before Jesus got here. So it could be hidden. It could have been stolen and taken apart for the gold, because I can't even imagine the price of the gold that was required, let alone the weight. And anyway, Judy told the story of the Queen of Sheba and Solomon. Solomon?
Solomon.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he probably thought in his heart, if I could hide this in Aksum, then none of the enemies will be able to scarf up on it and use it in the wrong way. So this was the legend that's going around right now. But then the ark has been, it's one piece of information said it's in Nova Scotia, right above New York, because they said the Knights of the Templar took the ark and hid it in this Oak Island. And these brothers from Canada, they have spent over $50 million excavating and getting permits to dig in that area. And so far, there's nothing. I personally think it's buried underneath the Temple Mount. There's access when you go into the Temple Mount. This is the Muslims. This is the Jews. Now the cave system goes down and around, back and forth, through both of these borders. And, and so if they take a measurement and then cut right down into the ground, then they can stay here, but they can't go into underneath the Dome of the Rock. But that's where I think it is. Anyway, in Aksum, that little church that right there, there's a cave system underneath that, and they said that the ark was taken to this place, and there is one man that guards it for his entire lifetime. I mean, he's chosen at 7 years of age, and he lives all of his life in this little place, guarding what he thinks the ark is. Now, they won't let anybody see it. They won't let anybody test it to see if it's real. It could be a counterfeit. But they're very serious about it. And so, to this day, that guard still is in there until he's 80 or 90 years old, and then they choose another one. I think it's a terrible waste of life if there's nothing there. I would be sneaking peeks to see, is there something in here worth guarding? Anyway, so that's the big mystery now, and that's what inspired the Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was a well-done movie, and when they were never supposed to open up the lid, but there in the movie they did, and their faces just dripped off. And I thought of a verse in either Jeremiah or Zechariah, where they describe a war where the soldiers, as they're standing, their flesh just drops off of them, and then they fall over. And I'm going, wow. That, to me, that's a form maybe of nuclear power, or maybe our physics hasn't advanced enough to even figure out what power this is. But this is something that I'm glad is still hidden. Jeremiah, in the book of Maccabees, that's in the Catholic Bible, he's recorded by saying that there will come a time when nobody can remember what this is even called. And right now, we still remember that it's called the Ark of the Covenant, but there will be a time when it'll just fade from consciousness. It would be fascinating to see. Of course, there's one in heaven, but, we have to wait to get there. And the idea that Jesus now goes into the Holy of Holies, and he is our high priest, and when you're in Jesus, you're in safety. And when you're in Jesus, you can talk to the Father freely. It doesn't cost anything. And so now I see why we don't really need this, because we have the Lord and all that he's done to establish us as children of God. So thanks for listening, and have a good Shabbat.
Perhaps in a future story we can feature a great minister and author, Elder Jack Sequeira, who's on the right in that picture, shown here with our principal, Erwin Doolin. Future presentation, Paulos and Judy, Stirling, and 11 churches of Lalibela that are cut out of solid rock, the mysterious stone obelisks of Aksum, King Solomon's gold mine, possibly in Ethiopia, and the Rastafarians of Shashamani. And what about the Falasha Jews that were flown out of Ethiopia in the 1980s to Jerusalem? Stay tuned. And now for a closing song, we have a song by Amy Perry and Todd Smith.